Hey everyone, how's it going? Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to this video's sponsor. This video is sponsored by Opera GX. Have you ever been just browsing the internet wishing you had a browser that you could customize and was made to cater to all your gaming related needs? Well, I've got some good news because Opera GX is just that. Opera GX is a highly customizable browser made for gamers. With it, you don't have to stick to the boring default look. You can customize it however you want. You can customize the colors, the background music, the sounds it makes when you type and open and close tabs. You can have dedicated wallpaper mods and other mods that can easily be enabled or disabled from the sidebar. There's also the Opera GX store, which has dozens of mods for you to mess around with. And if you're the kind of person that likes to keep your browser open while you're gaming or doing other things, well, in Opera GX, you can limit how much RAM and CPU it uses so that it doesn't impede your performance. Probably my favorite feature though, is how it helps you stay up to date on the newest releases and gaming news, and even helps you find deals and sales on games that are currently going on, so you never miss any good discounts. Check out Opera GX right now using the link down below in the description, and consider making it your new default browser. Did I mention that Opera GX is completely free? And if you're afraid of losing all your browsing data and history, don't worry. Opera GX has a feature that will allow you to import all of that from your previous browser. It's even compatible with every extension from Google Chrome. I want to give a big thanks to Opera GX for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to the video. Hey everyone, how's it going? Over the past couple of years, people have been digging deeper into Megami Tensei's history, and more people are starting to make videos and fan translations and other stuff about even the most obscure pieces of Megaten media, and thanks to that, some of them are even getting official re-releases. But among all the weird, under-the-radar stuff people discuss, there is one spin-off series that still hardly gets any attention: the Devil Children series. This was a spin-off series of Megaten that Atlus created at the turn of the millennium to be a more kid-friendly take on the series. The characters all have that early 2000s kids anime look with the flashy clothing and the spiky hair, and the demons all being redesigned to have a more cartoonish look. None of these games sold all that much, and they weren't too well received by the fanbase either, but that didn't stop this series from getting a lot of games. In fact, Devil Children Dark and Light Book were the first games released in English under the Shin Megami Tensei title as Demi-Kids. It was supposed to be a fresh, new take on the series because at the time there was a bit of a... look, I'm not going to tiptoe around it. It's obvious that Atlus saw the success of Pokemon and wanted to try their hand at something similar. Not just with the games themselves, but with how they went about marketing them too. There was an anime that released alongside the first two games and their follow-ups, and many of them were released in multiple versions, although in this case, the two versions are much more different from one another. That being said, I wouldn't go so far as to call these games knockoffs of Pokemon. I'd say it's more of an attempt to bridge the gap between the two franchises. These games still retain a lot of the gameplay elements that define Megaten while bringing in some from Pokemon, but I think this intro has gone on long enough. This video is just another crazy idea that popped into my head one evening, and I decided to go ahead and do a challenge and make a video on Devil Children Black Book for the Game Boy Color. Partially because this game is pretty short and honestly not that hard, but mostly because I just want to give this game and its fan translation more attention. This fan translation was shadow dropped about 3 years ago by Special Agent Ape, who hasn't done any other Megaten translations, but has done translations for some of the Final Fantasy Chocobo games and the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games for WiiWare. I hope this means we can get more fan translations of these games in the future, but it's already been 3 years and there's still no word on any of the others, including Red Book, but I don't know, maybe time will tell. But I guess I should explain what I'm going to be doing. I say that like it's not in the title, but I'm going to be using only Cerberus. Cerberus is the first demon that joins you in this game, and he sticks with you for pretty much the entire game. You can't not have him in your party, so only using him sounds like a pretty simple and self-explanatory rule set. So it's basically a Pokemon solo challenge, and the YouTuber whose intro I spoofed at the beginning is JRose11, who does exactly that on his channel, so definitely go check him out. But for now, let's get on with the video. I start the game, and there's no intro with Professor Oak or anything like that, but we do have a dream of some guy who probably isn't going to be important later talking to us. And then we're woken up in our room by our brother, Nagahisa. So I go downstairs to talk to him, and then he reminds us that our mom died and our dad went missing years ago, leaving us both orphans. Well, that got dark pretty fast, but not only that, something is causing sunlight to be blocked and it's freezing cold outside despite it currently being early July. We then get a package in the mail, and the signage is the name entry screen. My default name is Setsuna, but I name myself Gnarly as I usually do. So then the delivery guy just disappears, and before I can even open the box, a bunch of Jack Frosts come for it, and they freeze me and kidnap my brother. A mysterious force heals me, and then I open the box, and inside is a weird rainbow horn thing and a gun. So I pull the trigger, and Cerberus comes out. We blast our way through the tutorial battle, and then Cerberus explains that those frosts came from the Expanse, which is divided into subsections, and that's probably where we took Nagahisa. And now, what's this? I can name my demons in this game? This is a feature I've been begging for in mainline SMT games for years, but in this game, you can actually do it. Now, I was going to name Cerberus Koromaru, but I don't have enough room, so I tried to name him Pascal instead. But I still don't have enough room, so I just name him Koro. We head on out, and I run into my neighbor, Mirai, the character I would be playing as if I were playing Red Book, but this is Black Book. So, in the game, the city looks mostly normal, well, aside from the glowing red sky, but it looks like most of the NPCs have already given up. I mean, one of them says, and I quote, "I'd have studied less if I knew the world would end." Wow. There's not much else to do here right now other than talk to this green guy named Zet, who shows me how to use that horn I got. And it teleports us both to the Expanse, but it's not long before we're captured by a bunch of demons and thrown in jail. There's also a cutscene where the demons report what happened to the Demon King, who kinda looks a lot like the guy I saw in that flashback, which we get another one of. But getting back to the protagonist, of course there's someone in this cell who knows how to get us out, and this is a petite frost named Diana. She offers to help escape, but before she does, we can recruit the other demons in here as allies. I mean, I can't use them, but I can still save them for use as fusion fodder, right? Well, no. If I recruit any of these demons, we're going to be forced to send one of them out into battle during my next encounter. This is where I should elaborate more on how this game works. You have your protagonist who doesn't battle, but he does gain experience, and you can recruit and fuse demons up to 5 levels higher than him. In battle, you have 2 slots for demons. One for your partner demon, who is always Cerberus, with one brief exception, and one for any other demon that you fused or recruited. So it's not like other games where you have to manually summon them yourself, it'll just always send the one at the front of your comp out into battle. So if we're going to be doing a Cerberus solo challenge, we just won't be able to use any of these demons. But yeah, we have to go through this cave, and here I start getting random encounters. At the end of the cave, we have our first boss battle, Garm. Now, the thing about a lot of these boss battles, or battles in general really, is that the combat has been simplified a lot. Weaknesses and resistances don't work anything like they do in other games, and as long as Cerberus can take at least 2 hits before going down, I'm not going to have too much of a problem with any bosses in this game, provided he moves first and there aren't any ailments or anything like that, and that's exactly the case here. It's just a contest of trading blows while I heal every time I get low, and like I said, I usually move first. Either way, it's an easy fight and I finish him off. So we follow Diana out of the cave, into a village, through another cave, and into her house. And her friend Dust knows about 3 kids that were taken into the Expanse. I ask about Nagahisa, and he tells me that an angel helped him escape his capture by the demons. So we decide to split up to look for him, and in the village we run into our first fusion center. And this is how I'm going to be grinding Cerberus. You see, demons in this game can't level up, but Cerberus can, by fusing him with other demons. Every demon has a base EXP value, and when Cerberus is fused with a demon, he inherits that much EXP. And he gets a slight increase to his stats too. But before I can fuse him with demons, I need to recruit some. And whenever I recruit a demon, it automatically summons it in battle. So basically, to not break any rules, I'm going to need to set aside some time to grind whenever I get to an area with a fusion center so that I can level up Cerberus before moving on. And that's exactly what I do here. Now, if you go to the Vine Center, there's also this guy who will quiz you, and if you answer all of his questions correctly, he'll give you a whole bunch of free demons. Most of them I'm not high enough level to bring out, but they'll still be good for fusion fodder for Cerberus later. I also get this weird glitch in the background. Not sure what that's about, but anyway, once I've decided that I've done enough grinding, I head back out of the village where I run into Zet again. Cerberus thinks he's suspicious because of his scent, but he assures us that he's on our side by telling us what we need to do to find Nagahisa. And that is check out Sandland, and in order to get there, we need the gold Messiah horn, which we need to get from Hell, the same person who is holding Diana hostage. So we go to her place, which is just another incredibly short dungeon, and there she is. And oh my god, what is that design? She looks like what would happen if a Jack Frost was somehow fused with a Regice, but I actually kind of like it. I wasn't a fan of the demon designs of this game at first, but they're really starting to grow on me. But she seems to know who Setsuna is, including the fact that he's a devil child, meaning he's half demon and half human. I mean, I kind of figured that out because that's the name of the game I'm playing, but yeah, she's not going to help me without a fight. So when the fight starts, I don't fight Hell immediately. I have to take out 2 of her Jack Frosts first, and this doesn't go too poorly. I mean, they can deal about 50 damage with Bufu, but their normal attack only deals like 10-ish, and it turns out my normal attack is actually doing the most damage here. So once one of the Jack Frost is down, Hell shows up, and I take out the other Jack Frost, and then start concentrating on her, and things go fine until Palinpa, a normally harmless skill that inflicts panic/confusion in most games. However, here, in a solo run, it might as well be an instant game over. So, you know how in Pokemon when you're confused there's a chance that you might attack yourself in confusion? Well, here, it's pretty much a guarantee that you'll hit yourself, and I'm not entirely sure if it wears off over time either, because the battles never last long enough for it to. I keep trying again and again, and it always ends with things going great until she hits Cerberus with Palinpa, causing him to become confused and run around chasing and biting his tail until he bites it off and bleeds to death. So I go back to town to buy a whole bunch of Somas, because those are the items that cure ailments in this game, while also grinding a bit, and then I go back to attempt her again, and things go great until she uses Palinpa, and here I am thinking I'll just cure it with a Soma, except I can't because apparently, despite the fact that the protagonist doesn't fight in this game, the demons have to be the ones that use the items, and Cerberus can't use the Soma to cure his confusion because he's confused, so he just beats himself to death again. There is one more strategy that I'm willing to try before I resort to grinding again, and that's to use Tarukaja to max out Cerberus' attack before I get to Hell, and then use that attack boost to hopefully take her out before she gets a chance to go for Palinpa. I do this during the first phase of the fight, and I have to do it while also shaking off the constant attacks from the 2 Jack Frosts. I'm not entirely sure what the limit for stacking buffs is in this game, but I'm going to guess it's 4 since that's what it is in most other games. So, for the first phase, I'm just buffing up and healing while the 2 Jack Frost attack and or use Bufu on me, and once I'm at +3 attack, I decide to go for Fire Breath, which I think is a physical attack in this game since I pay for it with HP, not MP, and it's filed under the skills category, not magic, and it almost kills the left one while doing over half to the right one. So I go for it again, take them out, and then move on to Hell. Now, every turn here is just luck of the draw, because no matter how many life shards I have or how high my attack is, if she lands a single Palinpa, it's pretty much game over. So first turn she actually goes for Makafuji, which mutes Cerberus, which doesn't actually make a difference. In fact, it might actually be a blessing in disguise, because in some games, you can't inflict ailments on enemies that already have one. So, my first attack does about 90 damage, which may or may not sound like a lot, but her health bar goes down by about a third. Next turn, I get a critical hit, which almost does enough to kill, and then I finish her off with another attack. So, as a reward, she gives us the Gold Messiah Horn, and then we go back to where Diana is being held. And Diana gives us something she found while being held up, the King Riser Gun, which lets us summon King-class demons. Yeah, that's another thing you may have noticed about the demons in this game, how they're divided into classes. I haven't encountered any demons of classes I can't summon yet, but you can also use this thing to store more demons of the lower classes, so basically it allows you to have up to 9 demons at once. But anyway, we head back to Diana's place, but here we learn that there's another devil child in the demon world, and they're pretty bloodthirsty. Diana gives us the blue Messiah Horn, and then we hide in a pot. We get a brief look at the devil child, and they look kind of familiar, don't they? So we escape and use the gold Messiah Horn at the start portal thingy to the south of town to go to the next area. Welcome to Marble Land. This area is divided into 3 sections of clans that are fighting for dominance. All we can do right now is check out the Coliseum, where they're getting ready to host a tournament to decide who gets to rule this place. But not only that, the reward for winning is the white Messiah Horn. So that pretty much means we're going to have to enter, because we need that thing. But when I go to check it out, Abaddon shows up. He's trying to get rid of me too because he was ordered by the Demon King. So he and Cerberus get into a fight, not an actual battle, it's a cutscene fight, so Cerberus gets his butt kicked to the point where he can't actually fight anymore. And I can't just heal him at the hospital either for some reason. There is a Rosetsu standing outside the door who joins the party and takes Cerberus's place, but because he's not Cerberus, that means I can't actually use him. Well, even though I can't use Cerberus here, I don't actually have to fight any of the random encounters, which there are a lot of, but I can either just negotiate with them or run away, but the odds of running away aren't too favorable, and it's not like I can grind either. What we need to do here is go around and talk to all the tribe leaders. All we have to do is just go into their villages and talk to them. That's it. And the last one, Vibishana, is kind enough to heal Cerberus, so now we can get back to fighting and grinding in preparation for the tournament. So you just go back to the Coliseum, tell the guy in the arena that you're ready, and now be prepared for a gauntlet of bosses. The first one is just a golem. For him, I don't even bother with buffs or anything, I just spam Augie until he gets taken out. It did a good chunk to my health, but thankfully, I'm allowed to leave the waiting room to save or heal or do whatever else I may need to do before facing the next opponent. The next boss is Vibishana, and he's a little stronger, he hits a bit harder and has a bit more HP, enough for him to just barely survive my last attack, but the strategy is the same and I take him out easily on my first attempt. Okay, the next one is Vritra, and it's the same deal again, but he hits harder and takes less damage. I mean, you get the idea. But it's kind of starting to become a problem here. I mean, his Agilao is doing around 80 damage, and sometimes he moves first. In fact, before I can heal, I just barely survive one of his flare attacks with 4 HP, but I decide to buff up a little at the start, and once I finally do attack, it does around 80, which isn't as much as I had hoped for, but it's still enough for me to beat him nonetheless. The next one is Indra, and this one is also very similar. And this time, I buff up my attack even more, then start to heal with Dia because I do want to conserve my healing items in case I need them for the next battle. And when I do start attacking, it does about 100, which is kinda pathetic considering how much I buffed. And the next attack does even less than that, so I start using Augie the next turn to see if that will help, and it does almost as much. But Augie is a magic attack, so I basically wasted 3 turns by buffing. And then I get low on HP, so I have to use another life shard, which I'm kind of starting to run low on, but then I get a critical hit and he gets defeated. Now you might think that's it, but there is one more opponent, another devil child, and that one is Mirai, our neighbor who we met at the start of the game, who, like I said, we would be playing as if this were White Book, and also the person that was chasing us in the last town. She says that the Demon King told her that we're going to destroy the world, which I don't recall anyone telling me that I was supposed to destroy the world, but whatever the case, the tournament still has to go on. And unlike the last bosses, I actually have to fight multiple enemies here, and it does not go well for that exact reason, but also because her demons tend to move before I do. So I just grind a little, then try again, and now things are going much better. I've got a lot more HP now, and I'm consistently going first. I start by buffing as usual, this time even more than the last two battles, and after the first couple of turns they stop using magic for some reason, and when I make my first attack, it does enough to kill that Flareon head looking thing in just one hit. With him gone, she sends out Griffin, her guardian, and while it does move first the next turn, I'm able to take out the ferret before he can do anything. After this, there's only the Griffin, and its attacks aren't doing much. My attacks? Well, my first one does half, and then the next one finishes it off. Now that that's over, we explain to Mirai that we're just here to look for Nagahisa, and we're not trying to destroy the world. We just need to get the Messiah Horns to check out all of the worlds to look for him, and at the same time, Mirai is gathering the Messiah Eyes. After she leaves, we're crowned champion, and not only do we get the White Messiah Horn, but we can also appoint one of the tribe leaders as the ruler of this place. I choose Vibishana, and now we can take one of the other two along with us. I mean, I can't use them, but they can still be fusion fodder, so I choose Indra because he's the highest level. And then one other thing happens. Yeah, Cerberus evolves in this game. I mean, he doesn't become another demon or anything, just a higher class version of himself. And this one is Death Cerberus, although aside from him learning a couple of new moves, not much actually changes. He can only have 6 moves on him at once, so I keep Augie and Dia while getting rid of Medea and Patra. Well, it is finally time to ditch this dump, but on the way out, I run into Abaddon again, and of course I have to fight him. And of course I get destroyed by him. I mean, statistically he's not much worse than the bosses of the arena, but he usually moves first. So, unless I want to grind, I just have to play extra carefully and make sure to heal up just in case he moves first. And also buff up my stats and whatnot. Which is easier said than done, and there's just a lot of luck involved. In fact, in my successful attempt, I don't heal when I should have for whatever reason, so he attacks, but I survive with exactly 1 HP. And at this point, I'm already buffed up well enough, so I just hit him with a couple more attacks, and that takes him out. So we go through the portal again, and this time our Messiah Horn takes us to Sandland, or Lavender Town as I like to call it, since it's a place full of ghost NPCs and gravestones. Right outside the exit to the town, I run into Zet again, and he gives us the Devil Phone, which lets us access the Vine Center anywhere, which is actually really good, because now when I'm recruiting enemies for fusion fodder, I don't have to constantly run back and forth just to put them away in the Vine Center. But anyway, we walk around some, recruit some demons for a bit of grinding, talk to some dead ghost lady who tells us to consult a certain Egyptian goddess for help, and we go to her pyramid, navigate through this little dungeon where we run into 2 of Cerberus's old friends, Garm and Fenrir, who have to be fought. The fight against Garm pretty much goes the same way it did at the beginning of the game, just with stronger moves, and then I have to fight Fenrir, which also goes very similarly, only he has moves that actually do stuff. For one thing, he has Tarunda, the attack lowering move, which he goes for a lot, but also one called Earthbreak, which lowers my guard. Now, I do have Dacunda, but at the rate he's spamming Tarunda, I'm not going to be able to deal much damage, so I decide to take another strategy and just spam attack items. Yeah, when I was in town, I stocked up not only on healing items, but also on damaging gems like the Hellfire Gem and the Gaia Gem. Those don't factor into my attack, so I just spam them, and while they're not super strong, I do have more than enough of them to bring him down. With them out of the way, I can now concentrate on the big lady herself, who offers to help, but not without a fight, of course. So I go with the usual buff up then attack strategy, but oh wait, she has Mudo, which doesn't insta-kill in this game, but it does have a chance to, so Yeah, that means this boss is just gonna be pure luck. That's good to know. Oh, and she also has Dekaja, so there's no point in buffing either. You know what? I don't even feel like attacking. I'm just going to let my items do all the work like I just did against Fenrir. And it works. After a whole bunch of attacking and healing, this boss is gone. Well, not gone, she still has to help us, and she gives us a pretty big exposition dump. First of all, that dead lady who told me to come here, that was my mother, and Nagahisa was born after my demon dad left, so he's only my half-brother, but he's also not fully human. He's an angel child. You know, now I'm kind of curious to how my mom got into a situation where she was with both a demon and an angel. That's a bit crazy to think about. So on the way out, I run into Zet again, and he relays a message left by Nagahisa to meet him back in the human world. So using the purple horn he just gave me, I go, and it doesn't look like things have gotten much worse, but I can go to the school to beat the crap out of a King Frost that's been bringing more demons here. It's not mandatory, but I do get a 10k Maka bonus for doing it. So first I have to fight 2 Frost Aces, which I was a bit worried about, but literally all they do is spam Makakaja. That's it. So I take this opportunity to buff Cerberus, and I do it so much I lose track of how much I do it, but it must be at or close to the maximum, because when I do attack the Frost Aces, they both go down in one hit. After one of them is defeated, King Frost shows up to fight, and he's pretty strong, and actually is faster than me in most cases. His Mabafu is taking off 2/3 of my max HP, so I just kinda have to hope he doesn't do that, and that I actually do go first if he is going to use that. Thankfully, I still have plenty of life shards, but my attacks are doing about 250 damage, which is a lot, but I don't know if it was worth it given how much I buffed. But with each hit, it takes away a little over a quarter, so not too bad. And I do get lucky enough to take him out on my first attempt. Now that that's out of the way, there is one other thing I want to do here before confronting Nagahisa. In this little underground section, there's a move tutor that can teach Cerberus moves based on his evolutionary rank. And these moves are insanely powerful. There's Death Claw, which hits all foes twice, Death Vice, which hits one foe twice, and Death Rush, which hits all foes 4 times. I just teach him Death Vice and Death Rush, then do a bit more grinding, and with this, I think I'm ready. I go to the shrine at the park, and Nagahisa talks about how we're opposing forces, you know, with me being a demon child and him being an angel child, and I already know where this is going. But honestly, it actually kind of hits harder here, because in most SMT games, the people that you have to fight against after the alignment lock are usually people that you've only known since the start of the game, but here, this is my brother who I've been taking care of ever since our mom died and have been traveling between dimensions to find. So I don't fight him, but I do have to fight 2 of his Sphinxes, and they're not strong, but they are good test subjects for my new moves. So I use Death Rush, and it does a lot of damage and, you know, hits a lot of times, but this is where I find out that the game wasn't entirely clear about what these moves did. Death Rush does hit 4 times, but it's not 4 times against each enemy. It's total. So basically, it always hits 4 times, but it can only land on 1 enemy at a time. But either way, it's still an amazing skill, especially against single bosses, and it is going to make this game a lot easier until I can learn my next set of tutor skills. So after that, Nagahisa explains what is about to happen. In the Expanse, there is the Music Box room, and 2 programs, Armageddon and Ragnarok, and these determine the fate of the world, and he is going back to the Expanse to prepare. He then gives us the Green Horn, which takes us to the Forest Land, and here we have to talk to Belial, but he's too pissed off to help us, so we fight him in a fight where, after a couple of buffs, a Death Rush takes him out in 1 hit. Now he explains what's going on. Apparently, he was supposed to give an apple pie to Elegy, the daughter of the Demon Lord Azel, but he offers to teach us the Demon King's secret if we can find out who stole it. So we just walk around the forest some, and in various places you'll find one of 3 mini-bosses who allegedly stole that pie. You're supposed to guess which one did, but it doesn't matter which order you talk to them in, the true culprit will always be the last one you talk to. And all of these bosses are incredibly easy. So I give the pie back to Belial, but he goes back on his word. And you know, you gotta be a special kind of stupid to double cross a boy and his dog with a move that can decimate you in 1 hit. Well, almost 1 hit. He barely survives the first death rush because I didn't buff this time, but I quickly finish him off on the next turn. Now he tells us the truth. The truth that the current Demon King is actually an imposter, and the real Demon King, Lucifer, is my dad. Not too surprising to be honest, but he tells us to learn more from Lord Mammon and gives us the Red Horn to go visit him. So I head on out, but once again I'm stopped by Nagahisa. He tries to convince us to side with the angels, but we're still in disagreement, so I have to fight him again. More Sphinxes again that also go down very easily, and then there's a Death Sphinx who, after a couple of turns, becomes a Dead Sphinx. Oh, and get this. After the battle, Cerberus evolves again, this time into Hell Cerberus, and he learns Diarahan and Recar. Although for some stupid reason he forgot all of his tutor moves when he evolved, but now we can go back and teach him even better ones. Hell Vice, Hell Rush, and Hell Bust. And I opt for Hell Rush and Bust, especially Bust since that hits 4 times, but now I can actually choose my target. So I head on down to Fireland and I gotta go across some volcano themed dungeons. It's one of the longest ones in this game, but nothing too difficult. At the end, I meet Mammon, who, once again, is willing to help by giving us the shard, but not without a caveat. Only this time, instead of a fight, he wants 100,000 Maka. I guess with this game wanting Setsuna to be such a kind-hearted Satanist child, there's no way I could just beat the crap out of him and take it. So I scrape up just enough money to get him to hand it over, but even after that, he doesn't actually have it on him. It's at his casino back in town. So I go back to town to get it, and what do you know, while I was gone, the angels came down and destroyed the place. Nagahisa is here along with Uriel, and yeah, I have another boss fight, this time against 2 opponents, Nagahisa's Hell Sphinx and Uriel. So this is the first boss in quite a while that's actually been a challenge, mainly because it's another 2-on-1 boss fight. I'm still a little beat up from all that dungeon crawling, so I heal back up, then buff my attack once at the start, and then go for a Hell Rush, which hits both of them twice and almost takes them out. I mean, I was kind of hoping it would, but it doesn't really matter too much, because one more Diarahan and Hell Rush later, they're done. Okay, looks like we're in the last stretch of the game here. They give me the Prism Horn, which is just what I need to get to the Central Land, the same place we were brought to at the beginning of the game. We head straight into the palace to confront the fake Demon King, Azel, and the conversation expectedly doesn't go very smoothly. And once he figures out that I know the truth about him, he transforms and I have to fight him. Now, I know this guy isn't the final boss, but I still don't expect him to be a pushover. Before attacking, I do buff my attack twice, then I go for Hell Rush, and in total, it does a little under half. Not bad, not bad. I mean, his attacks are hardly doing anything, obviously, and I go for another attack, and it almost does enough to kill. He goes for Dark Spear, which does absolutely nothing, and then I heal back up, and then take him out. So yeah, that's it for the fake Demon King, but we still have the angels to worry about. In order to get to that music box room Nagahisa was talking about, we need all the Messiah horns and all the Messiah eyes. Well, Mirai shows up right on time and she has all the Messiah eyes. So we put them all together and head on into the final dungeon. So here we have to navigate through these weird tiles that take you in the opposite direction of the button you're pressing on the D-pad, so you kinda have to time your movements really well. I don't know, it's really weird, but not too far in we come face to face with our real father, the big man, Lucifer himself. And he tells me that he's going to join me regardless of which side I choose. Man, what a great dad. too bad I'm about to be a not-so-great son by using him as fusion fodder for Cerberus, but also, Cerberus evolves into his final form, King Cerberus, and new evolution means new move tutor moves, and the only one I need is King Gale, which hits 8 times. So basically, it's this game's version of Hasotobi, one of the most consistently overpowered skills in all of Megaton. These angels are not going to stand a chance. So we go a little further into the final dungeon, where we expectedly run into Nagahisa and Michael right outside the door to the music box room. Armageddon is going to reset the world and the Expanse, while Ragnarok will bring a new age. But with it, someone will also be able to challenge the Hoshigami, the entity that created the world in 7 days. And if they beat her, they will become god of the world. Their disagreement over which outcome is better lies within their beliefs of whether or not humans and demons are fit to live in the world. This was Atlus's attempt to make SMT kid-friendly, by the way. Whatever the case is, they're not going to let us through without a fight. Now, with my new move, I go in expecting an easy battle, and nope, I get annihilated. For one thing, they're both moving before me, but Michael also has a move called Judge Bolt, which has a high chance to stun. This wouldn't be a big deal if I moved first, but, well, I don't. I try again and again and just make no progress, so the only thing left to do is just grind some more. I grind Cerberus up to level 54, and yeah, this is much better. With Cerberus moving first, I no longer have to worry about Michael's Judge Bolt stunning me, and when I get low on HP, I can heal before they're able to do any more damage, and their attacks aren't even that strong. As usual, I buff up only once this time, and then I start blasting away with King Gale. It does what seems like a small amount, but remember, this thing hits 8 times. The first one takes over half of Michael's HP. For my second one, 6 of my 8 attacks land on Sphinx and take him down thanks to a lucky critical hit. And then the remaining 2 hit Michael and get him down to just a few pixels of health. And then I easily take him out on the next turn. So, yeah, now that they know they don't stand a chance against me, they leave the fate of the world up to me. Oh, and Uriel shows up and joins. Cool, you're gonna be fusion fodder now. So I head on in, load the Ragnarok program, and here I get a choice. I can either reset the world or become a god. I mean, this is SMT, so there's really only one option here. I'm going to become a god. Alright, let's go. And I think you guys already know what the plan is here. Just gonna buff up a few times first. Now, this thing is a little stronger than the last 2 bosses. I mean, I would hope it would be since this is the final boss, but even her moves aren't enough to pose much of a threat, and I move first. Some of the time, which is great when it happens, but anyway, I have 2 items that I haven't used yet, a magic guard pill and a guard pill, which do, well, I mean, I think they speak for themselves, and just to be extra safe, I do use my magic guard pill so that I can take a few more hits from her. And it seems to help, but after that, she starts spamming Bufula and freezing me, which is annoying. After a couple of more buffs, I finally take on the offensive, and I use King's Gale, and I have a good feeling this is going to be a one-hit kill. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, look, a crit. 6, 7, 8. We did it. We not only attacked and dethroned God, but we did it in just 1 hit. So, Setsuna is now the Hoshigami, the god of the world. We see the credits roll, but after that, we see that there is a bit of a downside to this. It seems that everyone except for Mirai forgot about Setsuna's existence, and yeah, that's kind of a depressing ending. But there you have it, everyone. It is possible to beat SMT Devil Children Black Book with only Cerberus. You know, this is just such an underrated SMT game, and I definitely think more people should check this series out. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Be sure to check out my other links in the description, and until the next video, I will see you all later.